Good morning. This is Ann White, the founder of the Creating Calm Network and co-host of Notes from Spirit with Nadya Rubin Schubert. How are you today, Nadya?
I am wonderful, and I am creating my calm just by petting this beautiful dog named Lexi. This is Ann's dog, who decided to jump up and be a part of our program today. And also the fact that I had a wonderful yoga class coming here, so I am ready to get in with the program and feel the sense of relaxation and balance that I'm looking for.
So if you nose off, it's okay to give you a little
Yes, you
poke?
can. You can tap me.
Okay, we'll do that.
Please.
One of the things I wanted to start with is when we talk about notes from spirit and spirit guides, some people could say, I don't want to talk about spirit guides. That's not my religion. That's not my faith. And this is not about religion. And I don't want labels to get in our way. So we'll start with the premise that there is something greater than ourselves. And you could call that something God, you could call that something Allah, you could call that something Bob. I don't care what we call it, but there is something greater than ourselves. And different faiths have different things they call it. And that something greater has a connection that connects us all together. And if you were to ask me how to describe it, my word would be energy. I would say there is an energy that creates us. How do you describe God? God is a universal energy for our higher good. Do you ever have a description? Would you say God, or would you say energy, or do you just go with spirit at this point?
I just go with spirit, but I also go with universal consciousness, which seems to cover everything for me. The word God doesn't do the same for me, but that doesn't stop me from believing in what I feel.
Right. And Joan, you didn't even know I was going to ask you this. Joan is our camera person here. When you think of it, is it a higher power? Is it God? Is it energy? How do you think of that connection between all of us?
I don't think it's something you can really describe. I think it's something that I feel. Just something inside of me that's there, and it's just something that's very, very good.
Yeah, and sometimes we overthink it. So the part is to really feel it more than think it. So when we're talking about spirit guides, if you're uncomfortable with that, maybe angels. A lot of people have angels, guardian angels. It might even be God, just a voice from the heavens coming to us. Like sometimes we'll say, God spoke to me and told me this. So don't let labels get in your way of spirit chills. Don't let labels get in the way of realizing that there is a power greater than us that wants for our highest good and that communicates with us. And that's really what Nadya is able to share with us. She is what I call a spirit scribe. That's my own term. I don't know if anybody else uses that. But Nadya, explain how you get these notes from spirit.
Again, it's a feeling, more or less. They come to me after I say my affirmations, and they seem to embrace me in this gauze-like material. This is the only way I can describe it. Gauze-like material that totally zones me into that space, being in the now. It's probably one of the few times I can say in the now, involuntarily, not hearing or seeing or speaking to anybody, but typing on a computer. Using a computer is what they gave me the ability to do while I'm under their connection. And when they are through with the writing, they will unwrap the gauze, and I begin to sit up straight, because when I come out, I'm kind of like hunched over, breathing very little. Sit up straight, thank them for the writing, feel totally, beautifully in love with everything. I have no anxiety, no thoughts of negativity, only goodness for everything. And it's such a wonderful feeling that I'd like to stay there even longer. But I'm glad they cut it off after 15 or 20 minutes, because then I have to regain my physical ability to breathe, and my kidneys, everything else seems to slow down.
Right. So. And Spirit just told me to stand up and turn on the light.
Okay.
Let there be light. We had most of our studio lights on, but I thought that light would work a little bit better.
Bringing what you said to another point that I was thinking of as you were speaking, and if I don't say what I think, I have a short-term memory loss problem once in a while. That is the umbrella to me, the universal consciousness, or talking about spirit as a general word for everything. Then there's the finite part of that, where you have your own identity with your own guides that you start recognizing that are around you, that are bringing to you the ability to work with them. And when these things happen, you, instead of taking things for granted, you really, if you started thinking about the fact that you're getting help here, those things will start happening again and again and again. Everyone I know has told me about little things that occur, and they said, wow, it's amazing that, I said, really, and where do you think that comes from? Well, it just happens. I said, and do you believe that's the way it always is, that things just happen? And yeah, that's the way they've always thought. But as they started thinking about even, and I said, ask for something, test it out. And I have a friend who just told me the other day that she's asking little things just to test it out, like, bring to me a pug. I want to see a pug today. She raised pugs all her life, and they're all gone now. And you never see a pug. It's a very rare thing. Most people don't even, I guess, like dogs, the pugs, because I've never seen them either, very rarely. She went to the store, she did her thing, she's coming out of some place, and here's a man walking with, or a woman walking with a pug. And she just said hello to the woman, and the woman said, hello, how are you? As if she knew her, and they started talking about pugs. And the next day she did another, little experiment with wanting a compliment.
From a strange place.
From a strange place, yeah. and in an unusual way. And she said she did her errands again. She was in Whole Foods, and she needed some meat, and the butcher said, let me take you to the area where you can look at what you like. And she did, and she purchased it. He said, I just have to tell you one thing. Your hair is beautiful. She just looked at him and said, thank you. I said, and who else did you think? She said, Spirit. So here you go. I mean, they're right on your shoulder anytime. It's just a matter of how open you want to be to who they are and what they can bring to you.
Right.
Isn't that a beautiful story?
Uh-huh. And the more you open up, the more it happens. And I think the important thing, and you feel like it, so it's not even that you have to remember, is to say thank you. Mm-hmm. And Joan had told us the story today, and Joan, your first response was thank you. Mm-hmm. And, so when we get those messages, I think Spirit likes to be thanked, and that's kind of a prayer, just saying thank you, being grateful for that connection.
I'll just give you one more little story. Peter was taking his aspirin.
Peter's her beloved.
Right, as he was told to do. And he put it in his mouth, one aspirin. Put it in his mouth. It fell out of his mouth. He couldn't find it. He picks up another aspirin. The aspirin fell out of his fingers. We couldn't find that. I said, are you going to take a third one? He said, what's going on? I said, I don't think Spirit wants you to take aspirin, probably because it has something to do with your well-being in some way. And then he remembered he had a problem once with taking aspirins when he had to take a test, and he was bleeding all over the place. And I said, do you remember that the doctor said you could take it every other day? He said, no, I don't. I said, well, he did. So every other day.
This is your other day.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Cannot find the aspirin. Totally disappeared. And it's orange. You'd have to see it on a white floor. Okay.
And so they take care of us.
They do.
What we're going to do today is some of our radio shows, Notes from Spirit, which is Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on Creating Calm Network, we read Nadya's contemporary readings, because the contemporary readings from Spirit, the Notes from Spirit, are very compelling. You call it in your face.
Right.
But they're urgent, because we're really going through a shift where Spirit is saying we need to be part of the change. And Spirit is telling us how to be part of the change. What we're going to share with you today is Nadya's first writing. Maybe not the very first, but the first when this is your very first writing? Okay, very first writing. When Spirit started coming to Nadya. And you will see it has a different, maybe even vibration or a different feeling to it. They're very gentle, and it's very human, because in order to communicate with us who are on this human plane, this material human plane, Spirit has got to go from divine language to human language and mention things that we are familiar with, or else we wouldn't get it. So I think these are almost just the way of getting acquainted first with you and then with us. So do you want to give us any other intro to your first writing?
And also making me accustomed and comfortable to the vibration as they bring me the words. Mm-hmm. I think the vibration was as strong as it is now in the beginning, I don't know how I would have reacted. Yeah. So it's very gentle and loving and soft, as opposed to what the writings are today, which are wonderful. They're just on a different level.
Exactly. And these are found in the book called We Are With You Always with Love. So, Nadya, if you'd like to share that writing with us.
I would. Let me let Lexi turn around here.
And the music that you're hearing is by Simber Lily Quinn. It was inspired by Nadya's writing, but we turn it off during the writings.
Okay. This was written on Saturday, September 29th, 2001. I usually write at 8 a.m. in the morning, so everything is a.m. Bow ties, ribbons tied around ponytails, rubber bands around pigtails, little girls filled with their daily thoughts of how they are going to spend their time on a certain day. When those little girls get older, they begin to dream about what their life will be like when they get older. When little girls get even older, they begin to think back to when they were little girls. It is a cycle of wanting what you don't have and then wanting what you did have. Enjoying the moment, enjoying the joy of the moment, and sharing that joy you feel with others gives you true happiness. To share something that makes you happy gives a friend as much pleasure as you. Humans enjoy sharing their thoughts with each other. The connection is that there are others who think and feel the way they do. Humans need to feel they are all part of a group that is either of a certain religion, nationality, neighborhood, family, or country, so that they can develop their identity and the origins from which it comes. Humans do not like feeling disconnected from one another. They need to feel the strength in that unit of lives. The numbers are not important, just that there are numbers. You were not designed on a vibration level to live alone, unto yourselves. Your vibration is always reaching out to touch someone, and when it finds the vibration it is most comfortable with, it pulls that person into its environment, and that person is happy because it was looking to find its own level of vibration comfort. Even in the material world, you are working off of energy vibration, your electrical field, if you will, that truly can show you the way to happiness if you are aware of and trust in your own instincts, which, as you know, are truly guides, your guides, those permanent ones and those you have been pulling in since you were that little girl who was always looking towards the future. Your future is today. How you think about yourself and how you respond to others, your goals and how you go about achieving them, your attitude and how much of the positive you can bring into your life are all part of your future. Once you begin to pay attention to today, you begin to lay the foundation for your future. You truly direct your future from your director's chair of today. Every day of your life in the present brings you the tools that will allow you to build the happiness and balance in your future. It is and always will be Spirit and you working together to bring the many truths to your life that will allow your changing thoughts to convert chaos and discomfort to peace and clarity of mind, to bring you the balance you need to deal with all situations with tremendous satisfaction. Open the door to the classroom of spirituality. Take your pen and paper to the school of spiritual thought and take the many notes you will want to write as those thoughts begin to open up your mind to the knowledge of truth that Spirit is offering. It is a 24-hour-a-day class, tailored to your schedule, and a teacher ready to teach when you are ready to learn. We are with you always with love.
Beautiful.
And as you see, there are so many human nuances or human similes, like the school of spirituality, your paper and pencil. It started with ponytails and ribbons, and it started with a little girl.
Yes.
So since they were communicating with you, you were that little girl.
I never thought about it like that.
Aren't you glad you came today?
Yeah. You see, I don't really always get what I write. Okay.
Because somewhere along the line, you got the message, these are for you first. Was that, and then for the world? How did you get that? Was this just a knowing, or was that ever in a writing?
It was in some writing, probably about a year or two ago,
Oh.
that related to situations in my life. that sparked the opening of the door and my acceptance of the fact that this was for me first. And for some reason, I don't know why I never believed in that, but
yeah, because being in that gender-neutral kind of generation where we're used to not going he or she, and I'm thinking, well, they don't bring in guys. This is all about a little girl. And then I got to thinking, well, of course, they're talking to you first about the little girl and then saying, okay, now we are your guides, because they say you're going to be aware of this vibration, but then you're going to feel those permanent ones and those you've been pulling in since you were that little girl. So they're talking about your own team of spirit guides.
I'm taking that some thought. See, I never put myself into the picture. It was always for everybody else. And that's basically the way I am. So this is the way it comes across until a couple of years ago. And things happen, and I don't remember the writing, but it made perfect sense. And wow, this really is for me. I accept.
Yeah, and now, and you can see too that it is for all of us, but through you first. One of the things I started circling when you were reading is the word today. They kept telling us about today, and that is so important, because today is where we live. Spirit lives in today, or even when I work at the hospital and use religious terms, God is today. Life unfolds today. And the human thing we do is we worry about the past, and we drag it around with us like a stone. Or we fret about the future. What if, what if, what if? But that's not where we connect. That's not where we live. So in order to really be free of the weight that we humans drag around with us, Spirit tells us, pay attention to today. And that's where the messages come. They unfold today. Don't you think that's beautiful?
It is beautiful. And I'm hoping to be able to do that.
And yeah, it's very human. My whole family was what if.
Yeah.
Well, what if you crossed the street and got hit by a car? Well, what if a rock fell out of heaven and hit you on the head? I mean, it got so bizarre. But they really did not live, my parents, because they were so afraid of the what if. So, and we could get into that. A lot of people just, what if I lose my job? What if my car breaks down? Think of what your life is like when you live with the what ifs.
So I wonder if Spirit is able to help you with that in some way, to change the feeling of uncertainty and think more positively. I wonder how they would do that. Would they have to show you that those things are not going to happen and that they don't happen, or where does it come to you?
Today.
Yeah.
Today. Because once you begin to pay attention to today, and I think that's what they're saying, live mindfully. In our vernacular, we say live mindfully.
Right.
But what they're really saying is when you pay attention to today, because once you focus on, even let's just say a meal, so you've got a beautiful meal, once you focus and you smell it, and it smells so good. We're going out to dinner tonight, so I want you to, we're going to play this at dinner. You're going to look at your plate, and you're going to see all the beautiful colors. They'll probably set it up really nice, and you taste. You're so focused on that moment. You're not going to worry about what ifs, or think about some past jerk that you might have known who you wish would break a leg or something like that.
True. And it's like, I think, anything else, initial relationships that have a strength to them that starts, I'm just saying now, connecting this strength that comes with the initial getting to know each other relationship, and then starts dissipating over time to being more normal.
But think of that that first relationship, when you meet someone and all that energy and that endorphins flow. You are in the moment because you have no past and you have no future. Yeah,
and I like the moment, but the moment doesn't stay too long.
Yeah, but your focus is so on the moment. So that's a good example of how the intensity of living in the moment. And you can't live there all the time. You'd be a little cinder.
Be burned out. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true.
Or when you see a sunset.
Yes.
Everything is that sunset. It's that one. That's why it's so powerful, because for that moment that you're connecting, you're not dragging across, all your past griefs and angers. And
on the beach, there are times where Peter and I will go at sunset, and the beaches here are tremendous. But at a certain point, when the sun is just setting, down to the last 10 seconds, everything goes into what is it called when you outline something on black paper and
Like
put
a silhouette. Silhouette.
People become silhouettes against this beautiful light behind it. And then you'll see a school of dolphins just coming along the water, maybe 25 feet from shore. Those are moments that you are in until it's over. I mean, they determine when it's over because you want to stay in there as long as possible. It's calming, it's beautiful, it's almost, you can't describe the word sometimes. It's so overwhelmingly awesome.
And that is so true because, the reason you can't describe the words, it's divine. Or it's, I guess that's the best word I can use, because we don't have the vocabulary in our human. That's why a lot of spirit messages come to us as a knowing or a feeling because we don't have that vocabulary. We have human vocabulary.
Right.
And those are like divine feelings of pure connection.
And that knowing and feeling is kind of like your skin. Mm-hmm. It's not even questioned. It's just accepted, absorbed, and with you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No doubt, no fear, no questions, no need for answers, nothing. Mm-hmm. It's just a given. Right. Okay.
And, and they do talk about the happiness. You build happiness and balance in your future because it talks about converting chaos and discomfort into peace and clarity. I think that's important because some people think that if you get connected and you're enlightened, your life will always be perfect. It isn't. Life isn't perfect. Crap happens. So they're telling us that when we're in the middle of chaos and discomfort, by going to the present and by connecting with our spirit guides, we can make that balanced and get back to that zone where it's balanced. Because I don't think anybody would have a life that's without.
And when you say go to your spirit guides, I mean, is this a conscious or unconscious thing, going to your spirit? I mean, is it something that's happening and at that moment you say, please help me? Or is it something that is just coming through to you at the moment that something is happening?
How do you feel when it happens?
And accepting that something is coming through.
When you do it.
That's a good question.
It is.
I'm going to have to think about that and get back to you.
Okay.
There's different things that happen that make me feel certain ways. It's not always the same each time.
Yeah, and I think that's the answer.
But when it's so right on, it's just like an absorption that brings everything to my body to a standstill for that moment and releases me from hanging on to things that are uncomfortable. It just happens all at once. And it's such a beautiful thing that now I allow it to happen without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I always call them in. I just think they're kind of there when I need them to be there.
I think you're so right on that. And that's part of the answer, is that they're always there and you will be given what you need when you need it. Mm-hmm. But the other part is, I think we can also say, hey, can you help me out?
Exactly.
I'm having a problem. And, I was sharing with both Joan and Nadya that this has been a very tumultuous week for me. It's been like a roller coaster. And there have been times when I have just said, I need your help. You're doing the how. Spirit always does the how. Humans want to do the how.
Right.
Like we want, how is that going to happen? Leave it to Spirit. They do the how.
Well, to me, it's when is it going to happen?
You can do that.
I don't care how it happens.
Yeah, but you're not
When
going
is it going to happen?
ask
I
that
want to know.
question. You can ask it, but you're not in charge of it.
No, I just think I am.
So I think it's that combination of calling to say, I need help, but I think they're always there to give it to you when you need it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. It's just a matter of your being able to observe what's going on. Really. That's all it really amounts to, because it's happening all the time, and we just don't even see it. It's like that book, Blink. In the blink of an eye, we see thousands of images that we don't even pay attention to, but they're stored away. Same thing with spirit. They're there all the time. If you miss a light, there might be a reason why you missed the light, because the guy on the other side's coming right through a red light. Or, and you just don't pay attention to it, but something is helping you to be where you need to be.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good example, too, because sometimes before I was really conscious of spirit, and I guess I might have even used the word angels, you're all set to pull out into traffic, and all of a sudden you look the other way where traffic isn't supposed to be coming from, and there might be a kid or a bicycle or a one-way car going, and you're saved at that one instant. And I used to just, that's my angel of my car. But, it's whatever we call it. It's spirit guides, it's God, it's Jesus, it's that higher consciousness. But I think we've all had those near misses.
Oh, yeah. I definitely have my near misses. But I always now will go back and thank them for anything. A little, even Peter's aspirin, thank you for doing this for him. Because ultimately it might have hurt him. Mm-hmm. And he himself was in total awe of the fact that he could not find the aspirin.
Yeah.
Now, they might have been buried underneath the refrigerator, but they made sure they buried it enough where he was not going to take it.
And the dogs aren't going to get it.
No, and the dog, that's what he was worried about, the dogs. Yeah.
I had a funny, just a real weird one yesterday. I got my parking place like I wanted. It was in the shade, and it looked to me like I needed the full money. I thought it was an empty one, and I was 9 cents or 9 minutes short. So I was trying to find a dime in my car. Couldn't find a dime, so I was just going to pop a quarter in just so I wouldn't get a ticket. And I got up to the meter, and it had 9 minutes left.
Oh, my goodness.
Because I was looking at my watch, and I'd come in almost 9 minutes early to work that day.
Did you say thank you?
I did, and that's why I think people, you probably should say it in your head.
Well,
because thank you. I'm out there talking to my parking meter, so you probably need to be a little more subtle.
I need to get you one of those earpieces so they think you're on the telephone.
Yeah, FBI here saying thank you. So it could be as little as, dropping the aspirin so he doesn't get the stomach situation, having 9 minutes on your meter when you can't find your dime it was 9 or 10, I don't split hairs with Spirit.
But anything with parking, you're like the parking guru. So.
But I never was until I opened up.
Really?
Because I always didn't want to embarrass Spirit by giving them something so pedestrian. I wanted to save the world and feed the hungry children. And now
little things, right? Well, like Martha did, I want a compliment. I want someone to compliment me in a strange and different way. And that was amazing.
Yeah. What do you know about your spirit guides?
I really don't know too much.
Do you feel them differently at all? And this is, I don't know if we've even had this discussion board before. So do you feel, is the energy the same? Do you still have the same ones you've always had? I think we do, don't we?
It depends on what you're doing.
Yeah.
You can bring in different spirit guides based on what you are doing, what your needs are at the time.
And that's what Vicky's the same teacher we both had. Nadya studied with her longer. But what she says happens to me, and also a trauma surgeon we know named Amy, is we have our own team of spirit guides. But she says when I walk into the hospital, because I'm a trauma chaplain, I have a new team that comes to help me for those things. And then when I leave, I take my team home, my regular peeps. But so if you're doing a high, intense emotional thing, others may come in, or depending on what you need.
But the only thing I dedicatedly do is the writings that I know I would have my spirits with me at a given time. Otherwise, I don't really pay attention to who's coming in and out at the time. But the ones that are coming in now are different than the ones I worked with years ago. And some of them are from years ago. It's kind of like a combination. But to me, all it appears to be in my mind is when I start going in, it's like a deck of cards. They all line up into a corner, stacked together, and then one person steps out, and that would be the reader that brings to me the information. So I really don't feel them.
Yeah.
Vicky said, ask to get to know them. Ask them to come to you and tell you who they are.
Yeah.
And for some reason...
Yeah, she did that to me and drove me nuts because they wouldn't.
and they don't. I have asked, and they don't. And maybe it's too direct. Maybe they come to me in different ways and I'm not paying attention to what they are.
And I really think that that's one of those things we need to relax on.
Yeah.
Because when I was new, I used to want to know their names. Tell me your names. And what I know about my spirit team is they think they are so funny. Because when I say what's your name, and they go things like, Herbert, Howard, no, it's Vivian, Jane, and I can hear all these, and then I can hear them laughing and rolling around, and so they play, and I think that means I don't need to know their name. I don't need to know their name. But they just do really funny things, like I have a friend who is very anti-spirit. And I see her spirit team, I don't actually, but there's a knowing that I see it. She's got spirits all around her trying to break through to work with her because they all try to guide us, even when we don't. And one day she was kind of close, and I could almost see the spirit team go, yeah. And then she closed down, and it was like, there. So
I've had a couple of friends of mine and are still having difficulty. Yeah. But what about the ones that come to you purposely? That have crossed over, that may not be your guides, but they just come through.
Yeah.
Like the moments I've had with certain people that come through that I don't even know. Why they come through, I don't know that either. Other than I just assume that my vibration is kind of floating on the level of their vibration. And or they're confirming something to
coming
me.
through with the message.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, but I wanted to share this because sometimes when you're learning about spirit, you'll see somebody, oh, my spirit is Shirley, and she's with me all the time. Well, if you don't have a spirit that has a name, don't worry about it.
Right.
You know, because they're there, whether we know their name or
The
not.
message is more important.
Right. Yeah. Last show, or 2 shows ago, you talked about the feather on your nose.
Marianne.
And you've heard me mention that I have, in one of my books, a friend, David, who I lost after 30 years of friendship. And one day, it was in this hallway, there was nothing on the ceiling, no light fixtures, a pure, smooth ceiling. And I was sort of shouting, where the hell are you, David? Why don't I ever feel you? And all of a sudden, a screw hit me on the head. And I thought that was so, you know, was it David, a screw of all things? And he was joked like that. That would be in his sense of humor. And then a little bit later, I had a screw in my pillowcase. How do you get a screw in your pillowcase? And then one in my shoe. And when I told his daughter, she went out to her mailbox in the Hamptons and stepped on an old brass screw. So that's how he's been communicating with his family. And when I was going through that tough time, I was finding a screw every day. And she said to me, he will never let you go through this alone.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so good.
So, you know, it's different ways. Joan, do you want to share your milk story or not?
Well, I guess I could.
Sort of, we put her on the spot.
Put me right on the spot. It's a little unusual, but I believe in these things happening, and I think they are from God. I had done some meditation, and I actually went back to my home where I used to live here in St. Petersburg, and actually went into the garage. I went into the dining room. I could see a shadow box with a glass window behind it, mirror, and there was a pink poodle with chains hanging off of it. And I talked to my sister later, and she said, yes, and I have that poodle. I have that.
Oh, so this was in your meditation you were
This
going
is in my
through the
meditation,
house.
and she said, that poodle, I have that to this very day. And I did not know that, but in my meditation, my vision, I could see that poodle, and I transported myself through the house. And my mother was in the kitchen, and she was very, very happy.
And your mother has passed.
My mother has passed, and I could see what she had on. I could see her happiness. I could feel her. I could look at, she worked very hard. I could see her paperwork very organized by the telephone because she was a Tupperware dealer and very, very good at it. And I started realizing that this woman, my mother and father were divorced. She created such a wonderful, loving environment for us in this home in Kansas City, and I did not realize it as a child growing up. I had a lot of resentments, didn't understand. This came to me for a reason. I went downstairs after my meditation. I have chills right now, and I went into the kitchen, and I was fixing my breakfast, and I kind of teared up a little bit because I realized how much love was there, and I kind of, the cap on the almond milk kind of went everywhere. And I looked down, and on my counter was a perfect shape of a heart out of the almond milk. I just shook my head, and again, I just said, thanks, Mom. And I started crying. But things like that, I don't get, but I really don't care if I don't understand. It's just, again, this feeling that's just awesome. It's this, I felt so loved. I felt so much love, like you, Nadya.
And it validated, just things that you needed to know for you to get to the...
I took a picture of the heart because my husband would never, well, he might believe me. He's pretty good about that, but it was an amazing experience.
Yeah. And again, we don't have human vocabulary to really describe the intensity of it. And you've heard us here on the show talk about spirit chills or do something like this, but I wonder if that comes through because of the vibration. I think it's just vibrational energy.
Well, it would be like if you got an electric shock.
Yeah.
You know, you feel it. Well, they're letting you feel it by the way it's coming through you. I mean, look, we have a lamp that it's a candelabra lamp in the living room, and it's been going on since I moved into that house. That lamp never went on in my other house or the house before that, ever. And we decided it was Larry because those with the strongest energy.
Your former husband.
My former husband, right? the strongest energy will come through before anyone else. There might be a big group of people ready to talk to you, but that person that's the strongest is the one that's going to come out. And Larry happens to be a very strong personality. And he would light that lamp up every once in a while. And we finally would say, hey, hello, Larry, you having a nice day? And then one day I decided, I'm testing this. I don't believe it. I mean, how can this be that the lamp would go on by itself? And I said, okay, if this is you, it's always on the lowest light. It's a it's not even a switch, it's a touch lamp. It's 3 levels of light. I said, so if you're really Larry and you're really doing this, I'm going to the bathroom. When I come out, I want it at the highest light. Sure enough, I come out of the bathroom, turn, and the light is brightly shining its light. Okay. Thank you, Larry.
Yeah.
And I feel he's happy. I feel he's happier than he was.
Right. And you wonder, is he jealous because you're with another partner? But once you cross over to spirit,
right,
it's pure unconditional love.
Right.
Because sometimes people say, that's the mailman. Mailman just came in to say hello. Sometimes people say, well, what if I'm married to someone, we cross over, then I have a new love, we cross over, then am I going to have like a jealous situation? But somehow it's all unconditional, beautiful love. And that's what you're feeling from him.
I'll give you a short other thing now that it's in my mind. I was in yoga class.
Is Geraldine here?
No.
Is the one with the feather?
I know. I don't know why I do that.
I think maybe she just comes through.
I've never done that. Other than
she must be with us.
Jerry Ann, I hope you're enjoying yourself. I love you.
Because Jerry Ann used to bring feathers tickling on his nose. That's what I was saying.
The second book is for Jerry Ann Thal. I was in a yoga class years ago, 7-8 years ago, and we had come out of Shavasana, rest pose at the end. But while in Shavasana, I had this image of a woman sitting on a chair in a blue and white paisley print, white laced dress, which is not my mother. But I knew this woman was my mother. She had blonde hair and a page boy, which is also not my mother. But those are all symbols of things. It doesn't necessarily have to be realistic. And I knew this was my mother sitting there looking at me through a window. I was on the other side of the window and smiling. Oh, I got the chills.
And you're making one of the bowls go. We have crystal bowls here, and somebody's vibrating over there as you're talking. Go ahead.
Really smiling. And my mother and I really never got along in life. She was just not on my wavelength, let's say. And she came through smiling, and I came out of this rest pose. My face was soaking wet. I had been crying through the whole thing. Out of happiness that my mother came through, not understanding how it could even happen until I talked to Vicki and she explained it. Because how does this happen? Am I making it up? Mm-hmm. No. I couldn't have been making it up because I was so overwhelmed I was crying the whole time. Yeah. But it felt so good to have her come through knowing that she's happy. Mm-hmm. That's what I wanted, for her to be happy. Mm-hmm. So as you said, in spirit, you grow. I mean, it's not maybe not be instant as soon as you cross over, but you work at it, just like we do in life. We work on it, all different levels, to get to the point where we've achieved success in whatever we want. Obviously, she wanted to be happy too because she's there.
Yeah. And so we probably should bring our show in for landing, but one of the things, we've talked about a lot of different examples today, shared the readings that had very human and loving vocabulary. One of the things that the readings told us, bring it into the now, because when we're in the now, we can really connect easier. But I think the biggest thing is just realizing that there is a universal connection. We are connected to spirit, sort of like our mothership. Even when we come to Earth to have our human existence, we keep that connection. And one of the beauties of it is when we lose somebody, a husband, a child, a good friend, we don't lose the connection.
No.
We lose the physical form, but the connection always stays. So hopefully that will bring some kind of hope and solace to people who are mourning or really missing a friend. But just be open and don't let vocabulary get in the way. If you want to call it God or Jesus or angels or spirit, it's whatever connects us for our highest good, like universal consciousness is what you said, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, always for our highest good. Nadia, do you have any closing words today?
No, I just wish everybody was able to connect and feel the connection and understand how it feels and what it brings to them. It would make so much of a difference in their life.
How much peace and love.
Yes.
Joan, thank you for being here with us today and
Thank
sharing.
you, Joan.
My
We
pleasure.
couldn't have done it without you.
You're sweet.
Yeah, thank you. And we decided we're going to do this every 2 weeks, twice a month. So we'll see what Spirit does with us, and we'll be right back with you in a couple of weeks. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Namaste.
Bye.